Tonight, on a special edition of ABC News Live Prime from Washington, D.C., Congress gets back to work. Lawmakers return to the office with less than a month to reach a compromise over the budget in order to avoid a government shutdown. This as Democrats and Republicans start a new call for the release of the Epstein files, holding a bipartisan meeting with survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The House Oversight Committee released 33,000 pages of those files, pages that Democrats say were already public. Hip-hop superstar Cardi B found not liable on all counts after being accused of assaulting a security guard in Beverly Hills. We'll take you inside that late-breaking verdict. As we come on the air tonight, China's military takes its place on the world stage. China's President Xi, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and India's Prime Minister Modi standing shoulder to shoulder, sending a strong message to President Trump. New policies and turmoil at the CDC causing confusion among parents about which vaccinations are right for their children just as they head back to school. We asked Dr. Alok Patel whose advice we should be following in order to protect our children. And this weekend marked 70 years since the murder of Emmett Till, a dark chapter in American history. Our Steve Osensami took a train ride from Chicago to Mississippi with Till's cousin, the last living eyewitness to that fateful night, who took the same trip with Till back in 1955. Steve joins him as he relived that painful and deeply personal journey.
What should I not forget to tell America about what happened here?
It's history.
From ABC News in Washington, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. It is a busy Tuesday night here in our nation's capital. It is lawmakers' first day back from the summer recess, and President Trump appeared publicly for the first time in several days. A short time ago, the House Oversight Committee publicly shared some 33,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein files. Democrats say 97% of them were public already. This comes the same day some of Jeffrey Epstein's victims met behind closed doors with lawmakers pushing for more files to be released. Speaker Johnson said after that meeting that there were tears and outrage. Both Democrats and Republicans are calling for the full files to be made public, and not just what was already public. And at least one vocal Republican lawmaker accused President Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson of stonewalling their release. Let's begin tonight with our Jay O'Brien, who's at the Capitol for us. Hi, Jay.
Yeah, Lindsay. Hi. House Republicans returning back to work, confronting an issue that deeply divided them before they left, and not much has changed: the Jeffrey Epstein saga.
Tonight, as Congress returns to Washington, their first order of business, the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. For more than 2 hours, women who say they were victimized by Epstein meeting behind closed doors with lawmakers, including Speaker Mike Johnson.
There were tears in the room. There was outrage. It was both, I would describe it as heartbreaking and infuriating that justice has been delayed so long.
But Johnson still refuses to let the House vote to compel the Justice Department to release the full Epstein files. His fellow Republican, Congressman Thomas Massie, tells me Johnson is under pressure from President Trump, and that Trump just wants this to go away.
He thinks he can just make this go away by telling people there's nothing here. The problem is this is bigger than him, and he can't make it go away by saying there's nothing here.
Late today, I pressed the Speaker.
There are some in your own party, Thomas Massie is one of them, who have said that by delaying a vote, resisting a floor vote on the Epstein documents, that you are protecting the president. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that's obvious nonsense.
And Jay O'Brien joins us again from Capitol Hill. Jay, we know a short time ago the House Oversight Committee released documents from its Epstein records. Any sense yet what's in those 33,000 pages?
I mean, we continue to go through them, Lindsay, but from what we have seen so far, it looks like information that for the most part was already publicly available, and it's likely not going to be enough to placate Thomas Massie, who has already said he is going to join with Democrats and try to convince a handful of Republicans to join with him, too, and do a procedural move that would force Johnson to have to put a bill that would push for the full release of the Epstein files on the floor for a vote. Johnson has resisted that, saying that it would be against the wishes of some victims and not be correct in terms of maintaining victim privacy, Lindsay.
And we'll hear what some of those victims have to say on the Hill tomorrow. Jay, thank you. And there is a verdict in the civil assault trial of hip-hop superstar Cardi B. She was found not liable on all counts after being accused of assaulting a security guard at a Beverly Hills medical building back in 2018. For that breaking news, we want to bring in ABC's Melissa Adon. Melissa, thanks so much for joining us. Walk us through this verdict.
Yes, Lindsay. So Cardi B, we just all learned the verdict. She was found not liable of all of these accounts. Now, there were 5 charges that they asked the jury to deliberate, and it was a quick deliberation. Lindsay, we're talking about 30 minutes where the jury unanimously decided that Cardi B had no responsibility for any of the assault charges, for any of the endangerment charges, saying that essentially they sided with Cardi B and she does not have to pay any of those monetary damages that the former security guard Imani Ellis was requesting. Now, shortly after Cardi B speaking out to the crowd in a press conference, she addressed the crowd and doubled down, saying she told the truth. And that is what everybody saw. They made comments about how popular and candid her testimony was. And Cardi B said it was simple for her because all she did was tell the truth. She then also made a warning for people. She said, we cannot take advantage of celebrities. She does not want any misinterpretation because she says the next person that comes for her, she will countersuit. She made that message very clear, also stating it in Spanish and then speaking to the Spanish media. She thanked also her supporters from the community that had shown up at the courthouse outside and the large community that's been supporting her on her social media following all of her clips from her testimony. But again, Lindsay, Cardi B found not liable on any counts of this civil assault trial.
All right, Melissa Dunn for us. Thanks so much. And want to get more details on this verdict now from Brian Buckmeyer, defense attorney and ABC News legal contributor. Brian, 30 minutes. What do you think ultimately helped the jury to come to such a quick decision?
Yeah, Lindsay, that is a very quick decision. I think ultimately the defense, that being Cardi B's attorneys, painted out a very strong argument here, showing that there were 3 quote-unquote eyewitnesses that testified, one being Cardi B, a receptionist, and a doctor, who saw the incident, or at least large swaths of it, and the aftermath thereafter, where no injury was seen on the plaintiff or the alleged victim in this case. And I think the lack of credibility from some of the plaintiff's own allegations didn't really pan out. Even when you look at the alleged injuries, doctors saying it looked like a scratch by a right-handed person and not a jabbing of the fingers as the plaintiff described. And we all know, or at least we all learned, that Cardi B is left-handed. So a lot of things didn't match up here.
And what about the credibility of the plaintiff, that former security guard? What were some of the factors, in addition to what you just stated, that worked against her?
Yeah, so her story just didn't match up with a lot of the eyewitnesses saying that Cardi B had either poked at her face and people there saying they had to break them apart. This plaintiff being a security guard and Cardi B being an individual or a patient coming to get a checkup for her birth-related health. And I think just a lot of the facts in terms of the aftermath, in terms of her psychological damage. A psychiatrist saying that couldn't disqualify malingering, which is basically a sense of lying about your symptoms, but did say that a lot of the trauma or the alleged trauma didn't match up with the incident.
And Cardi B spoke to reporters after the verdict, thanking her supporters and also, as Melissa Dunn mentioned, also giving a warning. Let's hear that.
I am not that celeb that you're going to sue and you think it's going to settle. I'm not going to settle, especially when I'm super completely innocent. I know I got a little reputation, but I swear to God, I'm innocent.
One thing is for sure, she was her authentic self, both on and off the stand. Did anything come as a surprise to you today?
Not really. I think from what we've heard in this case, and even it being a lower standard than in a criminal case, that the plaintiff just had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, or more likely than not, beyond preponderance of the evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt. Even that low standard, they didn't really reach it with any of the facts, either from the plaintiff themselves or from the witnesses that came forward. They all seem to be pretty pro Cardi B without any kind of interest in her winning. They all seem to be independent third parties that were just simply telling the truth, and the plaintiff couldn't really rattle them with their cross-examination.
And tell us about the fireworks outside the courthouse today.
Yeah, so during the lunch break today, while the plaintiff and defense were giving closing arguments, some reporters were asking questions. One individual asked for Cardi B to sign something and gave her a marker. And someone had made a comment about her personal life and I think some of her children and to that nature. I think I heard an NFL player's name. She quickly turned around and threw the marker at their feet. Something that actually came up in court was brought up by the plaintiff's attorney. It seemed to be a question of a bad taste, or at least she believed it. You can kind of see it here. Her throwing the marker there and then quickly being escorted out. It's just a poor comment. At least she interpreted that, and that's why she reacted that way. We'll see if there's another civil lawsuit that follows from it, though.
All right, we certainly will. Brian Buckmeyer, we appreciate you as always. And now to more late developing news. President Trump revealing the U.S. launched a deadly military strike in the Caribbean targeting a Venezuelan boat. President Trump claimed the boat was carrying illegal drugs and was headed toward the U.S. and said the strike killed 11 people who were allegedly gang members. Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has the latest.
Tonight, in a major escalation, the U.S. military launching a deadly attack on this suspected drug smuggling boat. President Trump releasing this dramatic video, allegedly of a drug speedboat being destroyed.
Over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat.
According to President Trump, 11 people on board were killed, all alleged members of Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang, which the president claims operates under the control and approval of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro.
We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time, and these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela.
Trump says that Maduro is responsible for mass murder, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and acts of violence and terror across the United States and the Western Hemisphere. It comes just days after the U.S. announced plans to boost forces off Venezuela to combat threats from drug cartels. A U.S. official confirming to ABC News that 8 Navy ships, including the amphibious assault ship U.S. Iwo Jima, were being assigned to the U.S. Southern Command. But Venezuela's president has warned that any U.S. military action would be met with an armed fight. Linsey, so far, no response from the Venezuelan government. President Trump saying bluntly tonight, consider this a warning shot to the Venezuelan gang, which he has designated a terrorist organization. Linsey?
Pierre, thank you. Next tonight, the president renewing his threat to deploy the National Guard to Chicago, vowing, quote, "We're going in," without saying when. The president declared Chicago the worst and most dangerous city in the world by far, putting Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson on notice. His new threat followed a violent Labor Day weekend across the city. At least 8 people were shot and killed, dozens injured in separate incidents. Governor Pritzker responded immediately, saying that he refuses to play a reality game show with Donald Trump. Chicago reporting a 22% drop in violent crime compared to 1 year ago. ABC's Mary Bruce reports from the White House.
Tonight, a federal judge ruling the Trump administration acted illegally by sending the National Guard to Los Angeles to put down immigration protests. Judge Charles Breyer accusing the administration of trying to create a national police force with the president as its chief. But tonight, President Trump undeterred, saying he's expanding his crime crackdown and will soon send the National Guard into Chicago.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in.
The president setting his sights on Chicago after sending 2,000 National Guard troops to patrol the streets of Washington, D.C.
If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country.
But Illinois Governor J.D. Pritzker says no.
I'm aware that the President of the United States likes to go on television and beg me to call and ask him for troops. I find this extraordinarily strange, as Chicago does not want troops on our streets.
It comes after a violent Labor Day weekend in Chicago. At least 58 people shot, 8 killed. Still, local officials say violent crime is down nearly 22% this year. Pritzker saying Trump just wants power.
He has surrounded himself with groveling yes men who are too weak to restrain his most violent and unhinged impulses, or who share those impulses. As a governor who cares about the well-being of my people, I can't live in a fantasy land where I pretend Trump is not tearing this country apart for personal greed and power.
And Lindsay, it's unclear when President Trump would send troops into Chicago, but again, that judge in that court ruling today making it clear that the federal government cannot use the military for law enforcement. And Governor Pritzker is promising he would fight this in court. Lindsay.
Mary, thank you. Let's turn now to the fire evacuations in the West. A fast-moving fire is burning across 1,300 acres in Stanislaus County, California, and flash flooding turned deadly in San Antonio, Texas. Authorities are recovering the bodies of a man and woman swept away by the floodwaters. Plus, hurricane season is here. For all the latest, let's get to Ginger Z, who's tracking it all for us. Ginger?
Lindsay, let's go ahead and start with the heat. So we have heat advisories from Los Angeles and Escondido right along the Mexican border, all the way up through the northern panhandle of Idaho. So the heat advisories, also on that map, a red flag warning. And that's where we have the Klamath Basin or the southern Cascades in Oregon with that dry thunderstorm capability, meaning that you get a thunderstorm, but the rain doesn't make it to the ground, just gusty winds and lightning, which can start new fires. So tough conditions there. You notice that Yakima and Spokane were both circled. That's for daily records possible, but tomorrow and Thursday, though, it's not just daily records, it's all-time September heat that could fall. So numbers hovering around 100 before we see things cool off by the weekend. And in Phoenix, a cool-off goes from 104 to 94 from Wednesday to Friday. A big part of that is because of the monsoon, and that's why we've got flood watches in place for parts of Nevada and California. Death Valley National Park's in there. The Bridge Fires burn scar, the Antelope Valley, San Gabriel Mountains all could see 1 inch per hour rainfall rates. Now that's tonight through tomorrow, so just keep an eye on that. But also, we've got our eye way out in the Atlantic on that area of thunderstorms that has a 70% chance of developing into our next tropical depression. If it then gets a name, it would be Gabrielle. We'll be watching it, Lindsay.
We sure know you will, Ginger. Thank you. Now to the major summit in China with President Xi, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Indian Prime Minister Modi gathering in Beijing. North Korea's Kim Jong-un also made the trip, arriving on his train today. Our chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell has the latest.
Tonight, a massive show of force by China. America's top adversaries attending a military parade in Beijing, sending a strong message that there's an alternative world order now competing with US domination. Chinese President Xi Jinping hosting Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un together in public for the first time. The parade will commemorate the end of World War II. China's growing military might on display, with more than 25 world leaders attending. Satellite images showing military equipment already lining up. Our Britt Clennett in Tiananmen Square.
The crowd is standing and clapping as Xi Jinping is flanked by Kim and Putin in an extraordinary show of unity.
It comes 2.5 weeks after President Trump welcomed Putin to Alaska, rolling out the red carpet, shaking Putin's hand. A stark contrast as Putin, Xi and India's Prime Minister Modi stand shoulder to shoulder. Lindsay, this is a pretty remarkable change of imagery from Putin and Trump meeting in Alaska to the scenes now playing out in Beijing, with so many of America's adversaries lining up together, united and strong. Lindsay?
Ian, thank you. The death toll from Sunday's 6.0 earthquake in Afghanistan has now surpassed 1,400 people. Officials say 3 villages in one region were flattened, killing more than 600 people there alone. Thousands more were injured and more than 5,000 homes were destroyed. Also today, a 5.5 aftershock sent rocks crashing down mountainsides, halting rescue efforts and sparking fears the death toll could rise even higher. Next tonight, the childhood prank turned deadly in Houston. A neighbor is now charged with murder after allegedly shooting and killing an 11-year-old boy. Witnesses say the boy was running away from the house when he was shot. Here's our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman.
Tonight, a Houston man is now charged with murder, accused of chasing after and killing an 11-year-old boy during a door-knocking prank.
Come out with your hands up.
Cameras rolling as Houston's major assaults unit took the suspect in for initial questioning. Authorities say around 11 p.m. on Saturday night, 11-year-old Julian Guzman and a group of friends were playing ding-dong ditch in a Houston neighborhood, ringing the doorbell of this house and running off. Police say 42-year-old Gonzalo Leon Jr. then ran out of the house with a handgun, firing multiple times down the street, hitting Julian in the back.
Shooting just occurred for a little boy that was shy.
The 11-year-old seen in this GoFundMe was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead the next day.
In my opinion, that doesn't look like any type of self-defense. It wasn't close to the house.
Our thanks to Matt Gutman. We're following a horrific shark attack in Key Largo, Florida. An 8-year-old boy was bitten on his leg while snorkeling with his family. The harrowing call to 911. The boy airlifted to a hospital, and what we now know about his condition. Here's ABC's Victor Oquendo.
Tonight, an 8-year-old boy airlifted to the hospital in Miami after suffering severe bite wounds from a shark off the coast of Key Largo.
Coast Guard, emergency shark bite.
The harrowing 911 call coming in just after 3 p.m. Monday. The boy's leg bitten as he and his family snorkeled near Horseshoe Reef, about 4 miles from Key Largo.
How bad is the bite?
It's bad. I gotta stop the bleeding.
People on a diving boat nearby hearing the yells. A Good Samaritan helping guide the family's boat 20 minutes to shore where first responders were waiting to board.
I've seen a significant amount of blood loss. The injury is significant.
Tonight, the sheriff says the boy made it through surgery overnight, adding doctors were able to save his leg. Linsey, authorities say it was likely a reef shark. Tonight, they are praising the quick actions of that Good Samaritan. Linsey?
Glad to hear they were able to save his leg, Victor. Thank you. In a landmark antitrust ruling, a federal judge says Google can keep its ownership of its Chrome search engine, but now must share data with competitors. The federal government initially sought to force Google to sell the Chrome browser due to its monopoly over the market. Thanks to deals that make the browser the default search engine on competitors' devices, the judge agreed Google was a monopoly, but rejected the government's request for it to divest from Chrome. And still ahead, an ingredient found in many gel nail polishes has now been banned by regulators in the EU. So why are we still using it here in the U.S.? And it's been 70 years since the murder of Emmett Till, and now his cousin, the only living witness of the kidnapping, takes a train ride to Mississippi to relive a dark chapter in America's history.
Is it hard for you to go back to Mississippi ever?
For a long time, I wouldn't go for over 10 years.
Welcome back, everyone. This weekend, people from around the world came together in Mississippi to mark 70 years since the murder of Emmett Till. In late August of 1955, Till and his cousin, Reverend Wheeler Parker Jr., took the train from Chicago to Mississippi. What happened next is a dark chapter in American history. A mob of racists lynched and shot the 14-year-old. This past week, the 86-year-old Reverend, who is the only living witness to Till's kidnapping, took the very same train ride to Mississippi, and our Steve Osunsami team were there with the Reverend as he relived that painful and deeply personal journey.
My goal in my life journey is to help people see the light about love and not hate. I've been set free from hate. And once you've been set free, you don't want to experience that. And I can't afford the luxury of hate.
Watch your step.
We're coming.
Reverend Wheeler Parker says that his Bible tells him to forgive. And he says that's what he's doing here.
Thank you.
Taking an overnight train to Mississippi with his wife, trying to make peace.
Oh my goodness.
With the murder of his cousin by a clan of racists.
If you dwell on it, you'll come out of it injured.
Mm-hmm. Nearly 70 years ago to this day.
Do you forgive Mississippi? Do you forgive America for what happened? Do you forgive those people?
If you don't forgive, God ain't forgiving you. Vengeance belongs to God, and you got to believe that.
Is it hard for you to go back to Mississippi ever?
For a long time, I wouldn't go for over 10 years.
This 86-year-old preacher in the sunset of his life is the only living witness of the kidnapping of Emmett Till in 1955. They were barely teenagers when he and his cousin took a train like this one from their home in Chicago to spend the summer with family in Mississippi. But only one of them would return alive.
Cotton picking time just starting down south. When you're young, you just want to get there and get going and seeing your cousin.
Both of you were excited to go?
Yeah, man. It was a venture for us, you know. But see, I'm from the South. I'm acutely aware of the mores of the South. He didn't know that. I knew where I was going. We call it going behind the Iron Curtain.
He says they warned his cousin that things were different behind that Iron Curtain in America, that black children who were out after dark could pay with their lives, and that black boys should never even dare speak to white women.
You know you could get killed for reckless eyeball.
For reckless eyeball?
Reckless eyeball. Do you know what it was like in 1955?
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it.
When we arrived in the Mississippi Delta in the morning rain, he took us to what's left of the grocery store.
Where was the entrance when you were...
Right in front here.
Overgrown with weeds, and much smaller than the scene he remembers as a child. This is where the white woman who worked here claimed that his 14-year-old cousin had grabbed her, put his hands around her waist, and then told her he had slept with white women before. It was all over the daily papers with quotes from a young Wheeler Parker calling 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant a pretty lady, interviews he says he never gave. Bryant and her husband Roy owned the store. In 2007, she told a book writer that she lied, and then she died in 2023, never apologizing to the black families.
What should I not forget to tell America about what happened here?
It's history. Not here to serve animosity or hate. Talk about history. Let the world see. Let the world know how far we've come. America's great. We made a lot of progress. And we should do a better job and be more open about it. It happened. You can't deny that, you know. That's the truth. The truth will make you free.
Reverend Parker, who was there, says the truth is that Emmett Till only whistled at the woman and says the bigger mistake was that he and his cousin and a few other black boys were there without an adult. They knew in seconds their lives were on the line and ran from the store. What happened next would leave a bloody stain on the fabric of American history.
2:30 in the morning, I hear these people talking. So you got two boys here from Chicago. And we want to talk to the one that did the talk. I said, God, I'm getting ready to die. They finna kill us. But when he did that, we could have disappeared. When he whistled at that lady, he violated a big moray. Could have been shot on the spot. I said, God, I'm gonna die.
So 2:30 in the morning, someone comes to the door?
Yeah, they're knocking on the door, and you couldn't see your face, hand in front of your face.
Was it screaming? They were...
No, not screaming, just belligerent death talk, what we call death talk. It's like he's not respecting them. So they left with him. That's the last time we saw him alive.
That was the last time you saw him alive?
Before the night was over, Carolyn Bryant's husband and half-brother would drag Emmett Till to a barn and then mutilate the child in unspeakable ways before shooting him in the head and then dumping his body in the Tallahatchie River. His mother couldn't even recognize her child and demanded an open casket at his funeral, determined to shock the nation and change the law, which she did.
And as much as my son had to die, I don't want his death to be a vain thing. If it can further the cause of freedom, then I will say that he died a hero.
This is the barn. So many people we talk with around here say that for many years, they couldn't speak to what happened inside of here, and for different reasons. For some, it was about not giving word to the horror that happened here, and for others, it was about living in denial.
Tonight, we gather here in Greenwood, Mississippi, humbled by the weight of history and lifted by the power of remembrance.
On this 70th anniversary of Emmett Till's murder, people from around the world are meeting Reverend Parker in Mississippi.
We recognize that the blood still cries,
vowing
to never forget.
His name Emmett Till.
This couple drove from Arkansas to see the barn for themselves.
I want it to be taught. I want history to be taught. We have ugly parts of history, but it needs to be taught.
The owners of the barn are now selling it to a history museum with the help of a major donation from television producer Shonda Rhimes. She explained to our Robin Roberts why this was a must-do.
I don't think I'd ever known where it happened, where a child had been tortured and killed. I couldn't let it go.
They're also trying to preserve the land where the boys slept that night and the old grocery store where the injustice began. And while we were there, they put the gun those men used on display at a local museum. America's laws never held a single person responsible, and there are people here who still fight with the truth. They've had to replace this signpost, for example, spelling out what happened here more than once, because some people keep filling it with bullet holes. It's all a reminder that whatever peace we here in America enjoy today doesn't come easy. And the good Reverend insists that forgiveness has to be part of this story.
People who don't forgive, they suffer. They suffer tremendously.
But this is about people who are lynching people, that a lot of black folks aren't in a reconciliation mood and want a different attitude for different times.
Right. From my perspective, everybody got to come stand before God. Get people to see the light, and that's my job. And Martin Luther King took that attitude, Jesus took that attitude. But that's what we have to do, try to change individuals.
Our thanks to Steve Osunsami. Coming up with Back to School now in full swing, what you need to know about your children and vaccine rules, and the person caught on camera not only crashing a wedding, but also stealing the gifts. Stay with us. Much more after the break. Millions of children are now back in school, and for many parents, new policies and recent turmoil at the nation's health agencies have left them confused about getting their children vaccinated against COVID. Last week, the FDA narrowed who would be eligible for the updated shots, and though Trump administration officials say every adult who wants a vaccine can get one, experts say it will likely be more difficult now for some to get the shot. The confusion comes with the CDC undergoing a major shakeup. Its director replaced after only a few weeks, and other leaders resigning in protest. We'll get into all of this with Dr. Alok Patel in a moment. But first, let's look at where we are with vaccinations by the numbers. The new COVID vaccines are approved only for people 65 years or older unless someone younger has a serious underlying condition. The American Academy of Pediatrics said, however, all children ages 6 through 23 months should also receive a COVID vaccine along with older children with an underlying risk. Regardless, pharmacists in 19 states are only allowed to provide vaccines to people who fall under FDA and CDC guidelines. CVS also said that it would require anyone seeking a COVID shot in 13 states to have a prescription, and said that it was holding off giving any shots entirely in 3 states, New Mexico, Nevada, and Massachusetts. The CDC said the COVID vaccine numbers were low last season. Only 23% of adults received the shot and 13% of children. The CDC says that its COVID hospitalization rate in August was 1.7 per 100,000 people, much lower than the same time last year, but double the rate from June. And joining us now is ABC News medical contributor Dr. Alok Patel. Dr. Patel, thank you so much for joining us as always. So as a pediatrician, what's your advice to parents who are confused at this point about whether or not to get their healthy children a COVID shot this fall?
You know, the first thing I tell confused parents is I empathize and I understand why people are confused when there seems to be so many conflicting reports about what to do. But the science doesn't lie. Children under the age of 2 are the highest risk, Linsey, of getting hospitalized with severe complications from COVID-19 in the pediatric age group. And then children who have high-risk medical conditions are also at increased risk. So this sounds trite, but what I tell parents is to talk to your pediatrician or a healthcare professional and have that candid discussion. A lot of people out there don't have access to a doctor, so if you go online, make sure you're getting advice from a medical organization, a hospital, or if you're on YouTube or the social media channels, you're getting advice from board-certified healthcare professionals who aren't trying to sell you something.
And as a pediatrician, do you find that this particular season more parents are coming in confused about what to do?
Not only confused, Lindsay, but also hesitant. They're hearing recommendations from one source and then another from somewhere else. And this is absolutely happening with COVID-19. But I want to say that it's happening with all of those vaccinations that children should be getting entering the new school year, including measles, whooping cough, and polio. The majority of parents are getting their kids fully vaccinated, but we're hearing a lot more questions about everything from vaccine ingredients to vaccine schedules to whether or not these vaccines are actually needed. And this is all based on data and science that we've had for more than 50 years, and knowing that vaccines are a surefire way to make sure that children can stay being children and get out there and enjoy the new school year safely.
So you mentioned the dangers to children who are under 2 years old. What's your advice to the parents themselves and other adults under the age of 65 as far as getting a new COVID shot?
You know, my advice is based on the data we have is that individuals in accordance with the FDA above the age of 65 should go and get a COVID vaccine and make sure they're up to date with all their vaccines for that matter, as should adults who have underlying high-risk medical conditions, including asthma, diabetes, cancer, and other chronic illnesses, but also a special note to adults who may have high exposures because they work in a certain setting or they may be around people who are also high risk. But for all the other healthy adults out there, I want to ask that just to make sure you look at the risk and the reward of getting that vaccine. People say to me, hey, it doesn't completely prevent COVID, and I say neither do seatbelts, but they don't prevent car accidents, but they greatly reduce your risk of getting severely ill and hospitalized.
That's a good analogy. Back in May, RFK Jr. went so far as to say that he would not recommend healthy pregnant women get a COVID shot. Based on the data, what do you say?
The data is pretty clear that pregnancy itself is a high-risk condition. COVID-19 in pregnancy greatly increases the risk of several complications, including preterm birth, stillbirth, preeclampsia, which can be life-threatening for both mom and the baby. And COVID-19 greatly reduces the risk of all these, even provides some antibodies for that newborn baby. So RFK's advice simply does not align with the reality of COVID-19 in pregnancy.
As we mentioned, former CDC directors and acting directors wrote an op-ed fact-checking the Secretary of HHS, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. How does the public know who to believe or listen to just at large at this point?
I would ask the public to do your own fact-checking and approach opinions with skepticism, because science is not an opinion. It's not political. It's not a soundbite. If RFK Jr. or anyone for that matter makes a claim and it doesn't align with major medical societies, national organizations, years of research, you want to be a little skeptical. Science and data are not partisan. They don't care about feelings. They're not based on opinion. They are based on evidence-based recommendations from a consensus among dozens, if not hundreds, of healthcare professionals. So just make sure that you have that empowered consumer eye and you kind of follow what the general consensus among professionals really is.
All right, Dr. Patel, we thank you as always for your insight and guidance. Coming up, from Bill Belichick's college coaching debut failed to Naomi Osaka's wallop of Coco Gauff at the U.S. Open, there's no shortage of sports headlines. We'll get you up to date. And Prime Video had a hit on its hands with The Terminal List. Now it's out with its prequel. Executive producer and actor Taylor Kitsch sits down with our Ashin Singh when we come back. Welcome back, everyone. Time now to recap the biggest headlines from the world of sports. Last night, legendary football coach Bill Belichick made his highly anticipated debut as a head coach for the University of North Carolina. But it did not quite go as planned. TCU came away with a dominant 48-14 road win to put a damper on the festivities. The game capped off an eventful week one of college football, which featured multiple top 10 matchups to kick off the season, highlighted by third-ranked and defending champion Ohio State defeating top-ranked Texas 14-7 in a battle of possible college football playoff teams. The U.S. Open had its own highly anticipated matchup yesterday as the men's and women's tournaments move into the later rounds. In a battle of past Open champions, Naomi Osaka defeated Coco Gauff in straight sets to reach her first Grand Slam quarterfinal since 2021. On the doubles courts, a phenomenal run for Venus Williams and Leylah Fernandez has come to an end. The pairing, which entered as a wild card entry, fell to the top top-seeded pairing of Taylor Townsend and Katerina Siniakova in today's quarterfinal. And a man caught on camera taking a cap away from a child, then took to social media to apologize. The man said that he took responsibility for his actions and thought that the hat was being given to him for his sons. Hall of Fame basketball coach George Raveling has died. He served as head coach for Washington State, Iowa, and USC's basketball teams over the course of 22 years, eventually being inducted into the Namath Basketball Hall of Fame in 2015. He's also credited with helping convince Michael Jordan to sign what would become a landmark endorsement deal with Nike, and later served as the company's global basketball sports marketing director. Raveling was 88 years old. An ingredient found in gel nail polish was just banned in Europe, so why are we still using it here in the U.S.? How an unwelcome wedding guest stole tens of thousands of dollars from the bride and groom, and the Starbucks coffee menu gets a protein boost. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. It was a wedding day disaster as security cameras captured a wedding crasher stealing tens of thousands of dollars in gifts intended for the bride and groom. Georgia Nadine Farah's celebration ground to a halt when the unwanted guest ran off with her gift box full of presents and cash.
I ended up sitting on the dance floor sobbing with my friends and cousins around me.
The couple estimates that the thief made off with about $60,000. Glendale police are now investigating, and the couple is offering a $5,000 reward for tips that lead to an arrest. Kraft Heinz has announced that it will split into two new food companies a decade after the brands merged. Kraft Heinz says that shifting tastes and consumers choosing healthier options are in part responsible for the change, unanimously approved by the company's board of directors. The two resulting companies will temporarily be called Global Taste Elevation Company and North American Grocery Co., and they will divide up iconic brands including Kraft Mac and Cheese and Oscar Mayer. More than 1 billion people are living with mental health conditions, according to new data from the World Health Organization. Mental health conditions are the second biggest reason for long-term disability, the data shows, and women are disproportionately impacted by mental health disorders. Depression and anxiety are the most common types of mental health conditions, costing the global economy an estimated $1 trillion each year. Anna Wintour, the longtime editor-in-chief of Vogue, has named Chloe Mahl as the new head of editorial content in the U.S. Mahl has worked in different roles across Vogue for the past 14 years, including editor of Vogue.com. She's the daughter of late actress and former Murphy Brown star Candice Bergen, who famously portrayed Carrie Bradshaw's Vogue editor on Sex and the City. Wintour became editor-in-chief of Vogue in 1988 and in June announced that she was searching for a new leader. Wintour announced at that time that she would continue in her role as chief content officer for Condé Nast and global editor-director at Vogue. The European Union has banned a key ingredient in many types of gel nail polish. The ingredient is abbreviated TPO, and it helps give nails their shiny and strong top coat. EU regulators say that it's theoretically toxic, according to the findings of animal studies. It is not clear if gel nail polish poses a threat to human health at current exposure levels, and it is still allowed in the United States. As the high-protein craze sweeps the nation, Starbucks will officially add its own iteration to its coffee houses this fall. The company said that it will offer a new protein cold foam, plus a new line of protein lattes that are made with protein-boosted milk starting September 29th. The new drinks, according to Starbucks, will deliver approximately 15 to 36 grams of protein in a 16-ounce beverage.
Thanks, Lindsay. The Terminalist Dark Wolf takes us back to the events that shaped Ben following his journey from Navy SEAL to CIA operative, diving headfirst into the high-stakes world of espionage, action, and the cost of life in the shadows. Let's take a look.
You said yourself, in order to clean up the mess we made, we have to get our hands dirty, no? In order to build trust with ISF, we have to be out there hammering targets, not hiding behind walls.
And joining now is the show's EP and Ben Edwards himself, Taylor Kitsch. Great to have you here, Taylor.
Thanks for having me.
And congrats on the show.
Thank you. That scene, that's like a tease of a tease. It gets crazy. That's a pivotal moment in the show where the CIA is not giving us full intel and sending me and my men downrange. And you'll see Ben kind of emotionally react to this, which is one of my favorite scenes of the show, by the way.
Yeah, it's been 3 years since fans first met Ben Edwards, and without giving anything away, instead of picking up where the show left off, you decided to go into Ben Edwards' backstory.
Yes.
Tell me how you knew that there was something more there, and why you decided to go about it this way.
It's a good question. I think anytime you get the call from Pratt and Fuqua and Dave DiGilio, our showrunner, to be like, hey, we want to do a full series of your backstory of how you got to that decision to make that he makes in season 1. So I was all ears. I love playing him. Love the community. And 5 of 7 of these episodes are written by veterans, which was huge for us. We have SEALs 100% of the time with us on set. Army Rangers, CIA operatives. So we feel like that authenticity is like no other, really.
Yeah, why was it so important for you guys to work so intimately with veterans on this show?
Well, if you're going to honor them, you better do it right. There's a moment I had, like I get my trident, Ben gets his trident stripped early. I don't know, it just gives you more of a weight to carry, and it kind of centers you a lot more when you can, like, in between takes, check in with them and just be like, hey, is this how it's done? Or like, what's your mindset going into losing this trident? Or like, so it's a beautiful thing that we've shared and created. It's like a little family now.
Without giving away too much from the original series, Chris Pratt is back as James Reese.
Yeah.
What was it like? First of all, what's it like working with him? And what was it like re-examining the relationship between James and Ben for this new series?
Yeah, I think people are going to love it. It's, you know, if you've seen season 1, you know there's utter turmoil his character's going through. So he's a lot lighter in this one. You see that relationship before everything kind of hit the fan. And then Pratt is like a dear friend now, man. He's incredibly gracious, family man, great leader. And, you know, to give me the reins and to take a swing with this as well is not lost on me.
Yeah, Taylor, you mentioned that veterans being on the show is so important to creating Ben's character. But I understand this is also a pretty personal cause to you.
Yeah, I started a nonprofit called Howler's Ridge. You can go to howlersridge.org for more info on that. But yeah, addiction has kind of ran through my family pretty hard, and I got 22 acres up in between Bozeman and Livingston in Montana, and we're gonna create an environment for change and a safe environment for these vets that have suffered from trauma. And on the sober side of addiction, people that have kind of won out on that side of it. Can come up there and continue winning and trying to do that inner work that keeps them on that course.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Taylor Kitsch, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks
and congrats on Terminal List, Dark Wolf.
Thank you.
Our thanks to Ashin for that interview and to Taylor for joining us tonight. And you can catch the Terminal List Dark Wolf streaming every Wednesday on Prime Video with the first 3 episodes available now. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.